trunks, they ever ready. Assault and battery, if you scared, you never ready.
Alright, this video is gonna be about my WrestleMania 31 Mania trip story, really. It's just from my point of view, what was going through my mind as the events occurred. And there's about 5 days to get into, but I'll try keeping it as concise as possible. Really, the things you guys don't know, and is what I'll pretty much give to you right now. And I'll obviously start off with the flight there. Traveling from the East Coast to the West Coast was it was my first time. Just get that out of the way. It was an exciting time. I was looking forward to it. It was probably one of the most exciting things about the whole trip was traveling from literally one end of the world to the other, and being in that California setting, because it was definitely a first for me. And I was looking forward to that more than the actual WrestleMania event. So the thing with that is, because there's a 3-hour difference, I had to either, well, my plan was to get there at a decent time, like between 1 p.m. and 2 p.m. West Coast time, which means I'd have to leave Toronto Airport at least 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. because you get the travel time plus the layovers. That was my only choice, really. And so leaving, I was, I guess, okay. Everyone who goes to WrestleMania, you know that there's no sleep the night before you leave because you're just so pumped. You don't want to miss your flight. So with 3 hours of sleep, I got at the Toronto airport on time. I prefer to be about 3 hours early, but my paranoid ass doesn't rub off on other people. So the person who was driving me said, you know what, I think you'll be good with 2 hours. We'll leave before your flight. I'm like, 2 hours? I mean, what if there's traffic? What if there's an accident? But I made it there with about an hour and 15 minutes to spare. Enough time to get me some breakfast, because the last thing I want to happen is have a little bit of turbulence problems like I did during WrestleMania 29. So a muffin, an orange juice, little white macadamia nut cookie was just perfecto, really. Until I heard the PA system and they announced that, Mr. Ravi, we are waiting for you at your gate. Please come now because we're boarding. So I don't know, first time that ever happened. Got up, ran, briskly walked to the gate. And what you guys don't know, I was filming. You guys can go watch the clip back. I was filming myself, selfie cam, whatever. And the lady, as you're walking down the ramp, the flight attendant's at the door waiting for me. And as I was walking, I can see she's staring at me, but she's not really, I thought she was doing her job. She's there to greet me as I walk in. So I see people all the time, Shay Carl, if you guys follow that. Other people just on YouTube and just regular famous YouTube vloggers. They do the same thing. As they're walking onto the flight, they're videotaping, and what happens? They get greeted, oh, you videotaped, welcome aboard, whatever. Me, on the other hand, I turn the camera off, and the lady's like, were you just filming? And I was like, yes. Oh, you're not allowed filming on here. That's illegal, I don't want to see you filming on that plane. If I do, I'm going to have to call the captain and this and that. I'm like, okay, relax. Just because I'm brown doesn't mean I got a bomb in my bag. I was simply just making a YouTube video so I can post it for you people. And no, she didn't have any of it. She was legit pissed. I saw her staring at me as I was like sitting in my seat. Like, she watched me to see where I'm sitting. I'm like, hey, I'm all the way in like the cheap seats, all the way in the back. So, I don't know what the hell was going on there, but she was not happy. Maybe it was like 7:30 in the morning, but I did not start obviously I didn't start her day off the way she wanted to. So that was going from Toronto to Los Angeles, and I get off on Los Angeles, and at the time Toronto was cold. We were still like in early April, so there was still snow on the ground. It was still pretty cold. I had a sweater and I had a vest over top, and I get into Los Angeles, California, and it was hot. And I'm like, I shouldn't have worn this many layers. I had a t-shirt plus a sweater plus a vest over top. I had my hat on, I had jeans on, and my glasses on. I had a bag. So I was sweating, really. And, so what happened was I landed, and because they're doing construction at the LAX, everything was all screwed up. So what I had to do was go from one terminal to another. And the lady said because they're doing construction, they shut the ride to one terminal to another. So I have to go outside and walk from the outside. So I'm like, all right, fine. What I didn't know is pretty much once I left that terminal, I pretty much, it's just like pressing the reset button. I had to go back in and go all the way through checkout again, which means I had to take all my clothes off. Well, not all my clothes off, but I had to take my shoes off, my jacket off, empty my bag, take my hat off, just all the jewelry I had on, which it wasn't much, but still. And just that whole process again. Luckily, I had about an hour and a half, hour 45-minute layover, and I got to my proper gate, which didn't have Pizza Hut. That's the one thing I wanted to do this trip, was have a nice frozen pizza, like a personal size, but it didn't happen. Ended up getting a ham and cheese sandwich. I don't know why, but with an orange juice again. I think I had water this time, but I remember having a pretty damn good Kit Kat Chunky, so that was a good thing. And I just waited. I just watched, I think, 3 episodes of Seinfeld while I waited. And pretty easy. It was like a 35-minute flight from LA to San Jose. And I get off the plane, and it was like, man, I'm at Wrestlemania. Whoever went to New Orleans, you saw that airport was just built WWE. It was everywhere you look was WrestleMania 30, New Orleans host WrestleMania, whatever. San Jose wasn't very like that. It was, there was a couple signs, but as you're walking through the gate after you exit, there was just one table, and they had WWE, San Jose welcomes WWE, and there was just one lady sitting there with the little itinerary for the weekend. But it was nothing compared to what New Orleans was like. So just a couple posters, really. So I go downstairs, and what do you know? Steve is already there waiting for me. So I was like, great, I already got some company. And Zach was with him. It was my first time meeting Zach. He's a good kid. I talked to him on Skype here and there before the trip, but it was my first time meeting him. Nothing bad to say about him. He's a good kid. And Steve, long time partner in crime, click 30, click 29, or he didn't try to go to 29, but 27, 28, 30. We've been through a lot, myself and Stevie Breach. So the only person we were waiting for was Miguel, and I was communicating with him before we even booked our flights because we wanted to get something very close to each other. So I arrived at whatever time, 2:30 maybe. He was arriving at 3:15. And he came, we had a good time, Miguel got his stuff. We took our Steve's wife, she let him borrow her SUV, took it to San Francisco. Steve's driving, obviously. Miguel's beside him, Zach's in the back, besides Zach in the back. Now, this is where I think it was last year where I realized that me sitting in the backseat of any car, or I don't even know what it is, just sitting in a car, not driving, I get sick very fast. I don't know what it is. It's like just car sick feeling. We were driving on the highway, and Steve had the AC on, but I don't know. I just felt I was going to throw up. I was like vomiting, just all those feelings all at once. And I literally just put my head back, and I just tried sleeping the whole way there. And it was about a 2.5, maybe 2 hour drive because it was like traffic, and we left around 3:30. So going there was not a fun drive for me. We listened to MLW, but I was just trying to keep my lunch inside my stomach that whole time. And I didn't say anything to anybody until later on that day when I told Miguel, I'm like, hey, you mind if I get the front seat? Because for some reason I'm getting car sick. And it happened last year to me as well, when myself and Justin were going to Kaiju Big Battle. We were sitting in the back of that cab, and this guy was driving like a maniac. And Justin will totally back me up on this. People tried dodging speed bumps or potholes or whatever. This guy just right over them, and I was like jumping up and down, and I was ready to die. I didn't even want to go by the time we got out, I'm like, dude, I gotta throw up. So and in San Francisco, I loved it. It was, I heard of Alcatraz, but I didn't do as much research as I wish I would have, because I was there, and I did all my research after the fact. When I got home, I'm like, man, I gotta find out everything about Alcatraz, and just such a fascinating place. And that's one thing I wish I would have done beforehand, and I wish I would have gotten to go in there and do the whole tour. But, maybe next time. But that's, other than that, just the atmosphere, whatever it was. And it's Northern California as well, so it wasn't as hot as it was in Los Angeles. It was like enough, the amount of clothes I had on, I was just perfectly fine. And Steve and Miguel were in shorts and t-shirt. They wish they would have brought in a jacket. That's how chilly it was. So we went to Pier 39 after, and it was a lot like Niagara Falls, just a real touristy area by the lake or ocean, whatever thing is. It's the ocean. And just reminded me a lot of Niagara Falls. So it was good. And the drive back was very easy. I think I was one sitting in the front, and I set the GPS, and we drove by Oracle Arena. We were in Oakland, and Miguel's like, dude, like, why the hell are we in Oakland? And I'm like, shit, like, this is my fault because I set the GPS, but I made sure to put Holiday Inn, whatever street we were on, so I knew we were going the right way. It's just some slight detour, but first day was fine. We had some restaurant, I don't remember what it was called, but I had a burger, and it was good. I put hot sauce on it, and man, I felt that hot sauce the day after. So, second day, we knew the flight schedule for some wrestlers, Hulk Hogan and Shawn Michaels to be specific. We're like, okay, we're going to go meet them. Airport access, free tickets. I brought a little picture for the whole clique to sign. And if I can just get Shawn Michaels, that's all that really mattered. Hulk Hogan is whatever. But little did we know, that airport access was better than last year's. We got Devon, we had Alex Riley, Shawn Michaels, Hulk Hogan, Eric Bischoff, I think Drew McIntyre. There was guy after guy just coming down that escalator, and I'm like, dude, like, we got to do this every year. And it was a thing last year. We're like, we got to do this next year, and we did. But airport access was just amazing. But the amount of people that are there, like, who know what's going on is just mind-boggling. I don't know how we find these things out, because I just kind of listen to Steve, and Steve's the one who gets all this information. But once we got there for Shawn Michaels, there was already a group of people waiting, and me and Miguel are just laughing, like, dude, like, what the hell's wrong with us? Like, there's literally 50 people here in that little area, and there's more, like, in another hallway, more waiting downstairs. Like, Shawn's not gonna sign for everybody. And I'm, like, kind of laughing and looking around, and one dude just gets mad. He's like, yo, what the fuck are you laughing at? Are you, like, you know, like, I'll beat you up. I'm gonna get that autograph before you. I've been here. I'm like, hey, relax. I'm like, take it. I'm telling him, I'm like, this guy's getting mad over autographs. I'm like, well, let's go downstairs, because there was a lot of people starting to, because how the airport works is the guy's going to walk through that certain area. There's 3 certain areas he has to walk through. There's a tunnel to get to the escalator, so people are waiting in front of the escalator. There's another hallway, go down the escalator, whatever, and then there's your baggage claim. We're like, let's just go to baggage claim. There's a bunch of benches, and we won't look as weird. It's like we just arrived, and you just happen to get the same time as Shawn Michaels. So that's what we did. So Shawn came down, and you should just see, there's a wrestler who's, like, at the front, and just behind him, or surrounding him, are just fans throwing stuff at him. Not throwing, but, you know, putting stuff in his face. Chairs, belts, 8x10s, figures, posters, everything you can imagine. And Shawn was a good enough guy. He just said, listen, I'll sign all your stuff. Just back up. Just give me some space. And these guys were like a Halo. Like Halo 5, those shields, those force field shields. That's what those people were like. And I was able to squeeze myself in. Got my 8x10 signed. I got Miguel's thing signed. And so we were cool with that. And there was a guy with, like, a chair. He had, like, a vent chair. And he's, like, trying to squeeze through. I'm like, buddy, get your chair and get in the back. I'm like, that was your first. So he got his thing signed, obviously. But there are guys just, like, with 30 8x10s just... So whatever. Access then came. We went from the airport access to the actual access with, like, 3 hours to I don't know why we left so early, but, like, 3 hours before access, Steve's like, we got to go to access. We got to line up early for access. I'm like, dude, we got VIP. Why do we got to go so early? But Steve wants to line up. By the way, I didn't mention that we ate anything in this time, so the last time we ate was the day before at that restaurant, which is around 8:30 p.m. So now we're looking, access starts at 4:30. So nothing to eat in that time. We get to access. And it was just another headache all on its own. Just access gets bigger and bigger each year. And I know it was Thursday, and that's the day where the least people will come, but there was a lot of people at this access session. And I don't know. I think that's when I reached my breaking point. I know I was really mad at that time. I was like, forget it. But a few months later, I'm kind of like, whatever. I'm sure if I would have eaten something, I would have been fine. Like, once a man gets hungry, he just starts unleashing on everybody. But I waited in line. I'm like, dude, why am I waiting like half hour to meet Eric Rowan or whoever? I don't know. It was bad. It was just miserable time. We left. We went like, okay, it's been over 24 hours. Maybe it's time to eat something now. And I don't know what happened with Steve, but he ended up doing something, and the dude wouldn't stop coughing. It's like he got some bug, some virus, and he was just coughing every 5 seconds. They weren't just like, this guy was like, like he was gonna, something was coming up. And I felt bad for him. Like, dude, you gotta take some medicine. But no, Steve doesn't take medicine. He just takes the syrup and just dunks it all over his pancakes. I'm like, dude, that's gonna make you worse. You're not listening to me. My mom told me this. You gotta drink some like coffee or something to soothe your lungs. But he ain't gonna listen to me. He's not gonna listen to anybody. Steve did what he did. Got more sick, obviously. But the pancakes were good. You know, not eating for that time. You really savor that food for what it was. And I got some mozzarella sticks to start because I'm like, dude, I'm not gonna wait. And no one else wanted any, but they were able to eat my mozzarella sticks. We all shared a little plate of that. Good time all around. And the next day, I don't know what time we woke up, but it was probably like 5-6 hours of sleep. And the thing with Steve, he wakes up and he's ready to get the day started, where I guess me and Miguel, we kind of want it to be a vacation more than just a wrestling trip. So a couple hours extra sleep would have been nice on all the days. But Steve was up, I think it was like 9 o'clock in the morning. Oh yeah, because WrestleCon started at 10, so we woke up like at 8:30 to leave by 9. Get to WrestleCon maybe by 9:15, 45 minutes early. And WrestleCon was good. It's pretty much like a Comic-Con with just wrestling fans, and it's a lot better than Access. I'll say that. I know you're gonna end up spending more, but you just go with like a certain limit, because once you see all those guys sitting there and you're like, dude, I can get a picture with him, I got an autograph with him, the money just goes. And I myself can personally say that I spent a lot more money than I would have wanted to at WrestleCon. So from WrestleCon, we went back to Access, and this time I was with Mario. And Mario's a good guy, and he knows a lot of people. So, what do I say? They let us in, and I ended up, and I think I did the same thing with Christian last year. We just met every single person, because we knew everybody. So they're like, you just come here, come here, come here. We met, I don't know how many people we met, but there was definitely, I think, the first day I maybe met 4 guys, and the next day I met maybe double or maybe even triple that amount of people. It was fine. I fully enjoy going to Access with Mario, because the guy knows what he's doing. I took some notes myself, but it was Access, and I'm kind of like, I can't wait to go home. And it's the standing part. You stand and wait in line for about half hour. It just gets to you. And I'll never forget the last person to Access. I got my thing signed by Triple H. So all I needed was Kevin Nash, who was going to do a WrestleCon the next day. Shawn Michaels signed it at the airport. Triple H just signed it now. The only guy left was Scott Hall, and he was just like right there. So I'm leaving with Triple H. Access is already closed, and the security guards are closing down the lines. I'm like, listen, I have this picture. Got to get it signed. The guy's right there. If you don't mind, just squeeze right in. If I get it, I get it. If not, I won't blame you. He's like, oh, I don't know. I'm like, please. I'm like, I'm from here. I need this. He's my favorite wrestler. Please, just let me in. He's like, okay, just don't tell anybody. I'm like, I won't tell anybody. But yeah, this guy's letting people in. I was like, okay, just let me in. So both guys, it was Hacksaw Jim Duggan and Scott Hall. Both guys are standing up, and they're just like, let's go, let's go, let's go. Getting as many people done as you can. The security guard was telling them, let's go, but Hall is like, no, I'm going to get all these people done. Hacksaw was kind of like, okay, we got to go. Like, he's listening to the security woman. I don't know why, but Scott Hall's like, yo, I'll go when I want to go. So once the security lady's like, okay, that's it. She's starting to push them now. Like, let's go, we got to go. And Hall's people are just putting things in front of Hall. He's just signing what he can, and he was able to sign my thing. And I was like, hey, I'm happy now. I'm just gonna get my ass out of here. I left, took the train back to our hotel. I was supposed to go to Kaiju with the rest of the Miguel and Steve and Mike, but I was like, man, like I've been up since like 8:30, and by that time it was about 10:30. Kaiju starts at 11:30 or 12. Like, I'm not even gonna bother, because the next day we gotta wake up again to go to WrestleCon. So I'm like, you know what? It's not even worth it. I went to Kaiju last year, and whatever. So I ordered a Pizza Hut, and I've ate a lot of pizza in my life, and garbage, absolutely garbage pizza. There was like doughy, there was no sauce. I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm hungry, I'll eat it, but wouldn't recommend it at all to anybody. But that's just me. So WrestleCon number 2 came, and I had, I think, 2 guys to meet. It was the Hardy Boys and Ken Shamrock. met Ken Shamrock, and then the Hardy Boys, I bought the tickets not in advance. I bought them at the table. They were signing at like 3. I bought them at 2. I'm like, hey, I'll come back at 3. Come back at 3:10. And the lineup's like curling like it does for Access. And you look at the Hardy Boys, they're great. They're great guys, you know, and they talk to you. They want you to get your full experience of meeting them. So I'm like, this is going to take forever. I already bought my tickets. It was about $150 worth because I got an autograph from both and a picture with both of them. So it was 25, 25, 15, 50. It was like $100, something like that. And I'm like, I don't really care because at this point I knew where all the wrestlers were staying, and they were all staying at our hotel. So I'm like, I can easily just sit in the lobby, wait for them to come, and just be like, hey, free access at the Holiday Inn in San Jose. But so I'm thinking, what should I do? Can't get a refund because the lady's being an idiot. So I wait for these people, though. I'm waiting for people to come in the line, and I'm kind of standing at the side. These people are thinking about it. Oh, yeah, I want to meet him. How much is this going to cost? I'm like, hey. And these hillbilly fuck. I don't even know where they're from, but they're like just straight out of like bumblefuck somewhere. And I'm like, listen, I have these tickets, and I'm trying to like not be sketchy as hell. I'm like, I just bought them, but I got to go because I don't have time to wait. I'll give you this for $10 less than you're going to buy. So instead of you spending $150, you're going to spend $130. You're going to save whatever amount of money you're going to whatever. And they're like, okay, I don't know. I'm like, what is there to not know? I'm like, I'm giving you these. They're in my hand. I'm like, I didn't steal them. I just bought them. I have the receipt if you want it. And oh, I don't know. They're like, I don't know what the hell they were going, what they think I was or what I am. And I'm like, okay. And then the lady kind of catches on what I'm doing. She's like, sir, if you're selling those tickets, I'm going to have to call the security, this, that. And I'm like, okay. Like, you're not giving me my refund. Like, what am I going to do? Like, I can't wait in this line right now. Oh, you should have thought of that before. There were no refunds, no this, and you can't be doing that. It's illegal. She's like, go do it outside if you want. I'm not going to do it outside. I'm going to do it in fucking front of you because so I know who's going to buy the tickets. And then these stupid hillbillies, they decided that they didn't want to buy it from me. They're going to buy it on their own. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go wait in line. And guess who comes walking into the line behind me? The dumb hillbillies. I'm like, how much you spend on those? Like $200. I'm like, I would have given you this for $150, and you would have saved me time. Like, I wouldn't have to be here right now. Your money, $50, and now we both suffer. I'm like, you guys are dumb. I'm like, you guys are stupid. Like, I don't know. And they're like, shut up. You're stupid, pissing the shit out of me right now. So they came there, and they're talking about Frank the Clowner and how he stalks the wrestlers and how he goes town to town. I'm like, get me out of here, please. And I just wanted to leave, and it was like an hour and a half later. Hardy Boys, I'm in the front. I'm like, just sign it and take me and go. Signed it. And Hardy Boys are great. Like I said, they want you to enjoy the experience. I took the picture between the ladders. Jeff Hardy signed my thing, and he literally, I think I have it right here. Funny, I haven't even hung these up yet. Yeah, this still like from the packaging. Jeff Hardy took about 30 seconds to sign this. The guy put a lot of effort into this signature. And then while he's signing it, I'm kind of staring at him in awe. I'm like, dude, I'm like, no wonder this line's taking so long. You take about half hour to sign one thing. And then while he's signing it, I'm just amazed right now that this guy's doing a masterpiece on my figure. And Matt's like, oh, so where are you from? And I'm like, I'm from Canada. He's like, it's your first time in California? I said, yes. And he's like, oh man, I hope you enjoy your trip. Are you going to be going to the WrestleCon show later on? I said, yes. He's like, oh man, that's cool. And I'm like, what about you guys? I'm like, there's like a bunch of wrestlers that are like moving to top places, and you guys are like stuck in your farm area. I'm like, you guys like that? Is that where you want to raise your family? This size? Like, yeah, you know, we try giving the big city a try. We're more country boys. I'm like, great, good for you guys. And then I left. Good guys. You know, much respect for Matt and Jeff Hardy after this weekend. I know I said a lot of things about Matt Hardy in the past few years, but at WrestleMania 28, when Matt Hardy literally, he put his hand out to me and he just like, what's your name? Where are you from? I hope you enjoy your trip. That's when I realized that this guy's a good guy. And Jeff Hardy I'd never met before. So I was already excited, as like elated that I'm like, man, finally, like I got Jeff Hardy to like, finally got to meet him. So from there we went to the Hall of Fame. The arena was about 3/4 full. I would say 60% full and 40% empty. There was scatters of empty seats, which there should be. If it was my choice, I don't know if I would have went. But we stayed for maybe a quarter of it after Connor's extremely long induction. We left to go to the WrestleCon show, and that was a great time. I think I had 8th row or something, but Steve, being Steve, he's like, listen, just follow me. We're gonna all sit together. So we had 5th row. Very fun show. You know, it was just guys who didn't have to worry about anything, no politics, no that. Just go out there, have a good time, entertain the crowd, and the crowd was entertained. You know, it was main event was Sabu and RVD versus the Hardy Boys in a no DQ match, and these guys beat the hell out of each other. I'm like, good God. Jeff Hardy broke his fingers, some fingers after, because we saw him after at the hotel, and I'm like, yo, Jeff, like, great match. He's like, thanks, man. He puts his hand, and his hands are like this. And once I don't know if I should grab his hand or not, because there's like cuts and stuff. But I'm like, hey, Jeff Hardy blood, that's fine. I'm sure he doesn't have any sort of disease. Grab his hand. I didn't squeeze, obviously, but I'm holding his hand. I'm like, are you okay? He's like, oh, you know, they did a chair spot where Sabu had a chair and Jeff Hardy had a chair. Not regular chairs, wooden garden chairs. They did the old sword fight, and what do you know? The wood cracked a couple of his fingers. And Matt showed me like his back. He's a big gash on his back from doing the table spot. And I'm like, dude, you guys are too much. I'm like, this is in WrestleMania. This is WrestleCon show. You guys are killing yourselves. And Matt's like, you know what? Send me a tweet and write this, and I'll retweet it for you. And I'll favor it, and I'm going to reply because I want people to know what kind of shit that goes on with Sabu and RVD. I'm like, okay. If you insist, Mr. Hardy. So myself and Miguel did that. And I think he like favorited it or retweeted it or replied like maybe a couple hours after, or maybe a day or two after. But he definitely did stick to his word, and he definitely let people know the kind of shit that goes on. So that was our day. We thought it was over, and then we get a call from Zach. I'm not going to go into too much detail because I don't know how much he wants people to know, but there was a little bit of an incident where he took the wrong train, and we had to go get him. But little did we know, we were at the north side of San Jose, and he was all the way at the south. And for us to drive there was, we didn't even know where he was. We asked a cop, and we're like, he said he's here. And then the cop has his GPS, and I'll show you guys a little visual. I'll just use this. He's like, you know, we're right here right now, and your friend, like, he's scrolling through his GPS. Your friend's right here. And I'm like, oh, well, this isn't good. So the kid was scared, like, so rightfully so. If I were to get lost at my first WrestleMania, like I was in Atlanta, and San Jose, from what I hear, isn't the most safest place, I would be pretty scared too. But, you know, I guess I think a little bit differently than he does, because the first thing he did was call Steve. First thing I would have did was call a cab and just tell him, like, this is where I'm staying, like, take me home. But, you know, Zach wanted, I guess he wanted someone he knew to come get him. And he was obviously shooken up that whole night. So that's that. The next day was WrestleMania day. Steve threw a big, Steve got hot. I don't know what happened. Like, I'm not going into too much detail about it, but Steve wanted to be at the show because I think the pre-show started at 3:30 in the afternoon. He wanted to be there at 2 o'clock. He wanted to be there a good chunk of time early. I'm like, dude, it's noon. We're going straight to the building. Like, what's the whole point of coming on this trip when 6 hours of our whole trip we've been waiting in line to get into an event? And I don't know what happened. He just flipped out, and then his car battery died, and well, I don't know. Okay, so he's going to do his own thing, and we did our own thing. We went to Starbucks, which we were supposed to go to Denny's, but they were just packed out the door, waiting, huge line. So we just got a small little snack to eat, and then we went back to the hotel. Luke put his sunscreen on because these, you know, white people, I guess they burn easily. Us brown guys, we just get darker. We don't burn. So from there, we took the train to, what was the building called? Levi Stadium. And that train ride was amazing. You guys saw the thing. It was packed. All wrestling fans just chants, and everyone got along. The guy starts a TNA chant. Everyone buries him. It was definitely a fun experience. Just to, like, you knew people were pumped. It was like WrestleMania. This is the day. It was cool. It really gets you all amped up and whatever. And the event itself, it was for me the most fun time I've had at a show. Best WrestleMania I've been to thus far. And the view, I don't know. I'm not one to complain about where I'm sitting because you guys are going to say, you know, you were like technically on the risers. It was like second row or third row on the rise, seventh row, sorry. So I was basically on the floor. But I think I'm just so used to sitting at a 100 level that I was just thinking, man, I would have liked to be up here because, you know, it's a nice level. There's no one in your way. You know, you kind of have a good view of everything. Where we were, the stage was kind of a little blocked, but I'm not complaining. The only thing I was glad that the sun was not on us. For the pre-show up until maybe halfway through the first match, the sun was pointing towards us, but by the time the thing started, the sun was behind us and it was pointing just over us. So we didn't get sunburnt. I feel bad for the Boston brothers because these guys had their hat on. They wear their hat like this, and when they took their hat off, it was burnt from here all the way down, and you had that little white line because that was the only part of their head that got saved. So it was good in that way. But just a great show. If you guys been to an outdoor stadium for wrestling, it's just incredible. WrestleMania, I wasn't looking forward to it, but I was glad that I went after that show. I'm like, if I would have missed this, I would have been mad because I'm like, dude, show was great. Crowd is crazy, matches were great, and just a great time all around. And then after, we went back to the hotel, and our plan was to get drunk, obviously. Like, just recreate what we could have at WrestleMania 30. But I was the only one. I think the Boston brother, Ryan, he drank with me. Zach drank. He had a good time. Man, I was happy that Zach had a good time because it was his first WrestleMania. He just like really enjoyed everything he could have for that time. I don't know when he's gonna go again. So good kid. And then Mike was with us, and I hadn't seen him since I think it was my first time meeting. No, my first time meeting him was earlier that day. So he's a good kid. Like whatever. Got pizza. It was shitty as usual, and I think we went to bed at like 4:30, and I literally just got up to the room because I was out of it. I don't even remember half of the stuff that went on, and I just remember just lying down on the bed and waking up the same way I laid down. So then came Monday. We went to the Santa Cruz Boardwalk, which was somewhere Miguel wanted to go, and it was great. Steve put it out there, said it was the most fun he had this whole trip. It was like being a kid again, just roller coasters and rides and whatever. And I don't do roller coasters, and neither does Mike, so we kind of held hands and we were all scared together. But it was good. Good little bonding experience for us YouTube people. And from there we went to Raw. And the only thing I can say about Raw were those seats were comfortable. It was like sitting on an office chair. There was like that much padding, and you just sit and your ass just sinks right into it. It was incredible. And other than that, Raw was fine. Good crowd, whatever. Just typical night after Raw crowd. The wave was probably just the highlight of the thing. And then getting home, I packed. My flight was at 4:30, 5 in the morning. Had to get there 2 hours early, which means I left the hotel at 4. Yeah, my flight was at 6, left the hotel at 4, went to sleep like at 2. So a couple hours of sleep, just got up, got my stuff, and said au revoir, or see ya to everybody. Miguel was going to come, but I wouldn't expect him to drive 10 minutes just to say bye to me. I said bye to him at the room. Steve drove me, said bye to him there. Same thing, got a little bit of breakfast, but I was at the gate and I was like, hey, this is good. And while I was waiting, I watched all of Steve's videos that he uploads like as they happen. So that's good. I prefer to upload mine after the fact so I can kind of sit there and edit it. Steve does no editing. He just like films and just upload whatever. So good for him. Gave me something to do while I was waiting for my flight. But that's the trip. Had a great time. And looking back, I actually had to go back and watch the videos so I know I can kind of refresh my memory on everything that happened. And definitely a fun trip. It kind of stood out in its own way. Each trip has its own identity. So this one definitely had its own, and in a positive way. I really enjoyed it. So that's it. I hope you guys sat through this 34-minute long video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.